Final Cut Pro version 12 just dropped, and it has just a few updates, but really huge, important updates that I cannot wait to show you. Now, you get these feature updates whether you bought Final Cut Pro as a one-time purchase, or if you're a subscriber to the new Apple Creator Studio. And if you don't know what that means, basically Apple has bundled together a bunch of creative apps for a subscription price that is billed either monthly or yearly. And in addition to getting access to those creative apps in that subscription price, a lot of the apps will come with some premium content with your subscription. So in Final Cut's case, that means it's going to come with some new titles, generators, and transitions that one-time purchase Final Cut Pro users do not have access to. If you're curious, what do those title templates and generators and transitions look like? I made a whole separate video about that. That's also live right now, where I go through all of the new content if you're curious about it. Or if you're curious about what my personal thoughts are about the Creator Studio subscription, I have a lot of them. I made a whole other video about that as well. But like I said, this video is for all Final Cut Pro users because everybody's getting these upgrades. Now, I recommend that before you update in the App Store, you navigate to your applications in the Finder window, right-click on Final Cut Pro, and zip it up by right-clicking and selecting Compress. So if for some reason you have to go back to the last version of Final Cut Pro, you can do that. So before we get into the meaty stuff, I do want to point out a UI update. We've got this new button where you can easily start a new project, event, and library. I love this button. It should definitely have been here the whole time. Now on to something more exciting. Final Cut Pro now has what's called Transcript Search. Transcript Search is a game changer for anyone who edits interviews or podcasts. You can now find specific portions of dialogue with the Transcript Search feature, and it works great and is a piece of cake. So I've got about a 10-minute clip here of an interview from someone talking about the YMCA. And if I'm looking for a particular phrase that I remember someone saying in an interview, I can just type it right here into the search field. So I'm going to search for the word community. And now Final Cut has pulled up every time he has said the word community into its own shorter clip. Let's listen.
I wanted to give back to the community and kind of strengthen my relationship and connection with the Y. Biggest thing, it's kind of a megaphone for what the Y offers and brings and provides for the community.
Now, what if I wanted to hear every time this gentleman mentioned the YMCA? I'm going to search YMCA. And I've only got 3 search results here, but this entire interview was about the YMCA. So I'm wondering, where are the rest of my results? Watch this. I'm going to drop down on the search field on transcript. Let's switch from includes to is related to, and look at how many more search results I got, and guess why that is. Listen to this.
That one again. The Y is a safe space based upon what programs it offers, and
you've probably heard people refer to the YMCA as the Y, which is super common. So Final Cut Pro understood that the Y meant the YMCA, and so it surfaced these additional clips to me when I broadened my search parameters, which is amazing. So once I have all of these individual clips, how can I use this information? I could select a clip and hit F to favorite it, or I could create a new keyword collection and select all those clips and assign them to that keyword. That way I don't have to keep searching YMCA every time I want to find one of those clips. They're all segmented out for me in my keyword collection. And if you're watching me create these keyword collections or favorite clips and you didn't even know you could do any of that, you may want some more formal training in Final Cut Pro. That brings us to the sponsor of today's video, me. Did you know that I offer self-paced full courses on Final Cut Pro and Apple Motion? My Final Cut Pro introductory course, Final Cut Rockstar, is my bestseller. I give you all the media to download, so we build a project side by side, and I zoom way into the screen so you don't miss anything. And once you've completed Final Cut Rockstar, we're leveling up your skills with Final Cut Rockstar Next Level. It's a more advanced course for intermediate to advanced Final Cut Pro editors. You may also be interested in my introductory Apple Motion course, Motion Launchpad. If you've been intimidated by Apple Motion, this is the course for you. I start at the very beginning, and you will be an Apple Motion user by the end of it. And then you can move on to my newest course, Motion Ignite, where I show you how to create your own title templates, transitions, effects, and generators in Apple Motion for your Final Cut Pro projects. It's a deep dive in Apple Motion and a great way to make your Final Cut Pro videos look more professional. If you're interested in any of those courses, we sell them a la carte, or you can save more by bundling them together. We offer group rates for schools or companies that want to educate their workforce, all at JennJager.com. And I've extended my New Year, New You sale through the end of January. So literally you just have a few more days to snag that special offer. Okay, let's talk about the next huge feature in Final Cut Pro version 12. It's not just transcript search, we now got visual search. I've got this library here with a food segment specifically about putting together a professional fromage board or cheese board. And we have a lot of shots with a lot of different ingredients. Let's say I wanted to find every shot of olives. I'm going to type the word olives into the search bar, and here are all my shots that include olives. It recognizes the olives both in their packaging and in a bowl. Let's try it again. I'm going to search the word cheese, and I have 3 different types of cheeses in here, and it pulled up every shot that has cheese in it, even if there's a ton of other stuff in the frame. By the way, if you love knowing what's new in Final Cut Pro, this is the right place to be. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Let's try one more library. I really want to show you this. So this video includes a bunch of shots of putting together a floral arrangement. So if I search flowers, all the different types of flowers come up. But if I search sunflowers, only shots that have sunflowers come up. It gets that specific. And watch this one. If I search mums, these are mums, and it recognizes the mums in my shots. Now, I'm sure you're dying to try transcript search or visual search on your own, but there's something really important you need to know to get this feature to work in your libraries. When you import, in your import window, you need to make sure you have a couple things checked here. First up, you want visual search enabled, and you want transcribe in English enabled as well. Now, if you open an old library in Final Cut Pro 12 where you didn't run this visual search analyzation upon import, because obviously this feature didn't exist yet, you can still have Final Cut Pro analyze those clips retroactively. All you need to do is select all of your clips in your browser, right-click, and select Analyze and Fix. And then you will get this new pop-up window where you can enable visual search and transcribe to English. And you're going to have to be a little bit patient here. It does take some time for Final Cut to analyze your media for the visual and transcript search. Now, one of the things I wondered about when I saw this feature was how does it impact library size? So I ran a test. I imported some media into a fresh library, disabling visual search and transcript search. And then in the Finder, I right-clicked on that library, selected Get Info, and checked the file size, which was 32.86 gigabytes. After it was all imported, I selected the media in my browser, right-clicked, selected Analyze and Fix, and enabled visual search and transcribe to English, and then waited. When it was all done with the analysis, I went back to Finder, right-clicked on that library, selected Get Info, and I found that the library size had expanded from 32.86 gigabytes to 32.88. So running this analysis barely impacts your library sizes at all, which is definitely good to know. By the way, you should also know that Final Cut Pro for iPad is also getting all of these new AI features we're talking about in this video, plus a few other goodies. I made a whole video about those updates. If you're curious, I'll link to that down below. I've got a lot of content coming out today. Apple's been keeping me really busy. All right, let's get to the last new huge AI update in Final Cut Pro, which is called beat detection. Beat detection in Final Cut Pro uses AI to detect the downbeats in your music tracks. So I've got this empty project here, and I'm just going to drop in a cut of music. To enable beat detection, you're going to right-click and select Enable Beat Detection, or hit the shortcut Option B. Haven't committed that one to memory yet myself. And it's going to analyze your music, and it's going to give you these lines in your timeline. The official name for these lines is the beat grid, and you're also going to get a new button at the top of your timeline. See this guy here? I can hide or show these beat marks by clicking this button, okay? And so let's take a closer look at what these beat lines indicate. You'll see some really thick lines, you'll see some thin dashed lines, and you'll see some thin solid lines. So the solid lines indicate the first beat, the downbeat of your measure. If you know anything about music, this will be a little bit easier to follow along. The dashed lines indicate the second, third, and fourth beats in your measure. And these big thick lines indicate just changes in the arrangement of the music. So let me play that back so you can hear. And you'll notice as we come up to our first big thick line that we're going to get a change in music. Now, why is this information important? It can really make it so much easier for you to cut along the beats in your videos. So I've got a cut of music here in this timeline. I've already run the beat detection, and let's just zero in on this series of B-roll shots here. And so what I can do is enable the trim tool by hitting the T key, and I can reposition my cut points to land at my downbeats, which are these thin solid lines. And so my edit just feels a little bit more polished. Now, that's not the only use for beat detection. Beat detection is awesome for making stock cuts of music the perfect length for your project. I just dropped yet another video about Final Cut Pro 12 where I show you how to use beat detection to make your cuts of music sound like they were custom arranged for your particular video edit. So you get the intro and the sting out to the perfect length of your video. And of course, I will link to that tutorial down below. So that's what's new in Final Cut Pro 12. Like I said, it's not a ton of new updates, but they are very meaningful updates. In my personal opinion, this is the exact kind of AI I want to see in Final Cut Pro. I don't want AI to take away the creative parts of my work. I want it to do the grunt work, the mundane stuff that I don't like doing as an editor. And that's exactly what these features do. So I'm very excited about these updates. Let me know though what you think down in the comments. If you're curious about how I feel about the new subscription model, I have lots of thoughts. I will link to a video right here where I talk about all of that. And of course, like I mentioned, there's tons of new content dropping today on my channel, and I'll link to it down in the description. You guys, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you again.